Greetings, fellow humans. Katrina here. Quick disclaimer, I'm a professional, not your professional. Nothing I'm about to say should be taken as medical legal advice. This podcast is purely for education and amusement. That is it. Disclaimer over. So today I thought I'd talk about what I don't know about the 5 love languages. That's a book written by this guy named Gary Chapman, The Secrets to Love That Lasts. And so the 5 love language, if you haven't heard of them, are words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, physical touch. See if you can rattle that off quickly. I will. Words of affirmation, quality time, physical touch, gift giving, and oh, I almost got it. Anyway, so the 5 love languages can be useful to know what yours are, what your partners are, and then you can increase whichever way you like, or decrease if something is going on that you don't like. So I thought I'd narrow down a little bit more on the quality time one. So this one is actually my love language, one of my primary ones. And so I thought I'd look at focused attention and a little bit of quality conversation. So this is an excerpt from the 5 love languages, The Secret to Love That Lasts, page 59, focused attention. It isn't enough to be in the same room with someone. A key ingredient in giving your spouse quality time is giving them focused attention, especially in this era of many distractions. When a father is sitting on the floor rolling a ball to his 2-year-old, his attention is not focused on the ball, but on the child. For that brief moment, however long it lasts, they are together. However, if the father is talking on the phone while he rolls the ball, his attention is diluted. Some husbands and wives and spouses think they are spending time together when in reality, they are only living in close proximity. They are in the same house at the same time, but they are not together. A wife who is texting while her husband tries to talk to her is not giving him quality time because he does not have her full attention. Quality time does not mean we have to spend our moments gazing into each other's eyes. It means we are doing something together and that we are giving our full attention to the other person. The activity in which we are both engaged is incidental. The important thing emotionally is that we are spending focused time with each other. The activity is a vehicle that creates the sense of togetherness. The important thing about the father rolling the ball to the 2-year-old is not the activity itself, but the emotions that are created between the father and his child. Similarly, a husband and wife going running together. If it is genuine quality time, will focus not on the run, but on the fact that they are spending time together. What happens on the emotional level is what matters. Our spending time together in a common pursuit communicates that we care about each other, that we enjoy being with each other, and that we like doing things together. Now, quality conversation is the next section, and it goes into words of affirmation. So, like words of affirmation, the language of quality time also has many dialects. One of the most common dialects of that is that of quality conversation. By quality conversation, I mean sympathetic dialogue where two individuals are sharing their experience, thoughts, and feelings and desires in a friendly, uninterrupted context. Most individuals who complain that their spouse does not talk do not mean literally that he or she never says a word. They mean that he or she seldom takes part in sympathetic dialogue. If your spouse's primary love language is quality time, such dialogue is crucial to his or her emotional sense of being loved. Quality conversation is quite different from the first love language. Words of affirmation focus on what we are saying, whereas quality conversation focuses on what we are hearing. If I am sharing my love for you by means of quality time, and we are going to spend that time in conversation, it means I will focus on drawing you out, listening sympathetically to what you have to say. I will ask questions, not in a badgering manner, but with a genuine desire to understand your thoughts, feelings, and desires. It goes on to say, I met Patrick when he was 43 and had been married for 17 years. I remember him because his first words were so dramatic. He sat in the leather chair in my office, and after briefly introducing himself, he leaned forward and said with great emotion, Dr. Chapman, I have been a fool, a real fool. What has led you to that conclusion? I asked. I have been married for 17 years, and my wife has left me. Now I realize what a fool I've been. I repeated my original question. In what way have you been a fool? My wife would come home from work and tell me about the problems in her office. I would listen to her and then tell her what I thought she should do. I always gave her advice. I told her she had to confront the problem. Problems don't go away. You have to talk with the people involved or your supervisor. You have to deal with problems. The next day, she would come home from work and tell me about the same problems. I would ask her if she did what I had suggested the day before. She would shake her head and say no. After 3 or 4 nights of that, I would get angry. I would tell her not to expect any sympathy from me if she wasn't going to take the advice I was giving her. She didn't have to live under that kind of stress and pressure. She could solve the problem if she'd simply do what I told her. It hurt me to see her living under such stress because I knew she didn't have to. The next time she'd bring up the problem, I would say, I don't want to hear about it. I've told you what you need to do. If you're not going to listen to my advice, I don't want to hear it. I would withdraw and go about my business. What a fool I was, he said. What a fool. Now I realize that she didn't want advice when she told me about her struggles at work. She wanted sympathy. She wanted me to listen, to give her attention, to let her know I could understand the hurt, the stress, the pressure. She wanted to know that I loved her and that I was with her. She didn't want advice. She just wanted to know that I understood. But I never tried to understand. I was too busy giving advice. And now she's gone. Patrick's wife had been pleading for quality conversation. Emotionally, she longed for him to focus attention on her by listening to her pain and frustration. Patrick was not focusing on listening, but on speaking. He listened only enough to hear the problem and formulate a solution. He didn't listen long enough or well enough to hear her cry for support and understanding. Many folks are like Patrick. We are trained to analyze problems and create solutions. We forget that marriage is a relationship, not a project to be completed or a problem to solve. A relationship calls for sympathetic listening with a view to understanding the other person's thoughts, feelings, and desires. We must be willing to give advice, but only when it is requested and never in a condescending manner. Most of us have little training in listening. We are far more efficient in thinking and speaking. Learning to listen may be as difficult as learning a foreign language, but learn we must if we want to communicate love. That is especially true if your spouse's primary love language is quality time and his or her dialect is quality conversation. Fortunately, numerous books and articles have been written on developing the art of listening. I will not seek to repeat what is written elsewhere, but suggest the following summary of practical tips. And now we're going to get into the 5 practical tips that he's talking about. So, number 1, maintain eye contact when your spouse is talking. That keeps your mind from wandering and communicates that they have your full attention. 2, don't listen to your spouse and do something else at the same time. Remember, quality time is giving someone your undivided attention. If you're doing something you cannot turn from immediately, tell your spouse the truth. A positive approach might be, I know you're trying to talk to me and I'm interested, but I want to give you my full attention. I can't do that right now, but if you will give me 10 minutes to finish this, I'll sit down and listen to you. Most spouses will respect such a request. Number 3, listen for feelings. Ask yourself, what emotion is my spouse experiencing? When you think you have the answer, confirm it. For example, it sounds to me like you're feeling disappointed because I forgot blank. That gives him the chance to clarify his feelings. It also communicates that you were listening intently to what was being said. Number 4, observe body language. So things like clenched fists, trembling hands, tears, furrowed brows, and eye movements may give you clues as to what the other is feeling. Sometimes body language speaks one message while words speak another. Ask for clarification to make sure you know what she is really thinking and feeling. Number 5, refuse to interrupt. Research has indicated that the average individual listens for only 17 seconds before interrupting and interjecting his own ideas. If I give you my undivided attention while you're talking, I will refrain from defending myself or hurling accusations at you or dogmatically stating my position. My goal is to discover your thoughts and feelings. My objective is not to defend myself or set you straight. It's to understand you. And so the other thing I wanted to mention that this book has that ended on page 64 of the 5 love languages. And so at the very back of the book, he has some frequently asked questions. So you might look a little bit more of these if you have any of these questions. What if I can't discover my primary love language? What if I can't discover my spouse's love language? Does your primary love language change as you get older? Does the 5 love language concept work with children? Do children's love languages change when they get to be teenagers? What if the primary love language with your spouse is difficult for you? Are there some love languages found more among women and others found more among men? How do you discover the five love languages? Does it work in other cultures? And why has this been so successful? So these are some questions. Even there's a couple more. So can love be reborn after sexual infidelity? What do you do when your spouse refuses to speak your love language, even though they know it? So these are some tough questions. One last one. Can emotional love return after it's been gone for 30 years? And lastly, I'm single. How does the love language concept apply to me? And so if you want to look more into that book, like I said, it's The Five Love Language, The Secret to Love That Lasts, and that's by Gary Chapman. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you want to support the show, just click that button on the website. And remember, I appreciate each and every one of you simply for existing.